Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Auto Has YouTube channel. Now this will be a relatively quick video. However, my F56 Mini is in need of another upgrade. I haven't done anything to this car in a little while and I'm feeling like spicing it up a little bit without spending an awful amount of money. My Mini JCW is Rebel Green and I thought yellow DRLs will look particularly cool against that colour, especially then with the red roof popping as well. And there's only one way to find out: buy some and give it a go. Now I've taken the AliExpress risk and I've bought these on AliExpress for just under £40. So not only am I going to show you how to fit these, but I'm also going to find out along with you guys if £40 is enough money to spend to get good quality, good looking yellow DRLs without any error codes on the car as well. So without further ado, let's give this a go. PS, I've never done this before, so if this doesn't go to plan first time, you'll just have to bear with me. So as standard on the F56 Minis, this is an LCI 2. You have a full ring of an LED DRL. Now on pre-facelift models, I believe this is just around and then there's the indicator at the bottom. However, this ring on my car serves its purpose as a DRL and a full indicator. So it's important that these yellow DRLs also give a nice clear orange indicator, something which we'll find out. And if I'm right in saying, you remove these by taking off this heatsink at the rear, which looks like it's held in with 4 T20 bolts, which is perfect, as up here I have a 20 Torx small ratchet, which should be able to reach us into the very bottom of those heat sinks. The other thing I'm also going to need is some thermal paste, and I've gone for Arctic MX4 as I've actually got this from building a computer, so I know this is good stuff and very thermally conductive. The other thing I must note is they've come in this little metal box, which is nice secure packaging. It's somewhere to put the old DRLs when I'm done with them. I don't know exactly when I'll be publishing this video, however I ordered these about a week and a half ago and they turned up at my door early this morning, so that's really good for an AliExpress order. So first step has given me a little bit of confidence. So I think all that's left to do is finally crack on with this install. Let's see how long it takes and how simple this is. There's the first 2 screws out. Now it's time to try and get the harder ones out at the bottom. This isn't a magnetic T20 bit either, so it's not going to get any grip on these screws, so I've got to be really careful not to drop one of these because I don't have any replacements. Okay, these screws are really difficult to get to, so if you haven't got one of these small screwdrivers, I can tell you now, you're not going to be able to do it. That's definitely a must for this install. I'm having to be really careful here, but luckily I can reach underneath my headlight, although it's highlighted to me that I really need to clean in there because it's very dirty. There we go, that's screw number 3 removed. What I would suggest when you get to the bottom of those is get them so they're loose so you can undo them by hand I should say. Just pinch them with your fingers nice and tight, get those out and just remove them from the side or from the top nice and carefully. That way you won't drop them, and make sure you put them in a tray like I am doing here. It's actually the lid to the DRL tin, just to keep them safe. You don't want them dropping into the engine bay. That's going to be like finding a needle in a haystack, not what we want. Screw number 4 is by far the hardest to get to. Got very little range of motion here with this ratchet. Okay, that screw's now loose enough that it can't even trigger the ratchet mechanism, which should mean that is removed. So that is DRL casing number 1 removed, heatsink even I should say. Gonna slide that out very carefully, and you've just got to unplug this connector on the back here. I'll spin the camera around and show you. So the DRL casing will come away from the light unit like so, and you've just got to unplug this connector in the bottom here. So I'm going to do that now, and then should be able to pry off these DRL units as they're held on by quite a bit of paste. So let's see if I can get this off. This connector, just as a warning, doesn't come out very far. So I'll lift that out very carefully, leave that connector where we can grab it, and that is DRL unit on the left-hand side removed from the car. So I'm going to take this DRL off, install the new yellow DRL and put this one back on and test it before I even bother faffing with the other side, because the last thing I really want to do is undo the other side and these not actually work. Sorry, not these, the AliExpress ones. So the next step, flathead screwdriver, carefully pry this off as I need to preserve these for eventually when I change them back. When the day for changing this car comes, not that I'm looking forward to that day because I really love this car. Now, when I say I've been advised in this video, what I mean by I've been advised is I've looked on a couple of different forums of the very few that are out there with any information to do with yellow DRLs, especially on minis. But what they've told me is small flathead to initially start prying this, and then a larger one, spread the force so you don't snap this DRL module. Personally, I don't want to snap mine, as I will reuse them at some point, like I said, when I come to reverting this car back to standard. And the other thing I'm thinking of, if I did need another module due to it breaking and I went to BMW and Mini to get one, I'd probably have to have about £3.5 million in my bank account to be able to get one of these. That's probably per side, let's be honest. So I'm going to try and preserve these and make sure that we don't have any issues. So I didn't film myself prying that off because it took about 15 minutes to get the actual module off. It's not difficult, it's just very stuck down, so you just have to be careful when you're prying it off. But as you can see, I've started to remove some of the thermal paste on there, and the standard DRL module looks just like this. It's almost identical to the AliExpress unit I've got in there. I'm going to also clean these off so they're ready for being put back on in the future, but for now I'm going to get all of this back off, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to thermal paste up the new modules and stick them onto here. Right, the old DRL and the thermal paste are off the heatsink, and as you can see, we've got a lovely clean surface there. How did I get this off, you ask? Well, didn't really want to have to resort to it. Acetone. I used a little bit of acetone on this because it is just metal. Don't use them on the DRL module, so I don't really want to know what happened. But I've used a Stanley blade out of the knife, just be careful, scrape that off, and I've used a bit of wire wool at the end, acetone soften it, a bit of wire wool, and that has given me a really nice clean surface to work with. So, now for the moment of truth, the AliExpress module. So, as you can see, that's the BMW Mini module. That is the AliExpress module. Not an awful lot of difference between the two, really. I'd be intrigued to see, other than the colour, if there is any other differences in there. But yeah, not an awful lot between the two. So I'm going to line this one up. I'm going to get it thermal paste, and then we'll put it on the car, put the heatsink back in and tighten the heatsink up and see how they look. You'll have to excuse me, my hay fever is going wild today. However, thermal paste, Arctic MX4, you must use thermal paste. If you just drop that onto there, or just use something like super glue or something, that module will burn out. These get hot for LEDs. You'd be quite surprised. They don't run very cool at all because they're very bright. So, in my past experience with thermal paste, you don't need loads. In my past experience with thermal paste, the lid was easier than that to get off. And I'm going to thermal paste up the rear of the unit. Now, I'm going to put plenty on here because the stock unit had plenty on there. So, oh, very shaky hand there, Harry. Not what we want. Zigzag like I would do glue. This is non-conductive thermal paste, so shouldn't have any issues on that side of things. Just being careful of the bits on the top now. I'm pushing that down until the thermal paste squeezes out the side, because then I know that that is fastened down properly. There are two locator pins on here to help you put it on, but they don't fit like a glove. There is a little bit of play in the DRL module, it seems. And I'm going to leave that in the warmth for 5 or 10 minutes just to set in place a little bit, because as I said, thermal paste isn't an adhesive, but it does set a little bit just to hold itself in place, and then we'll get them on the car, get them warmed up and run them and see how they look. I'm excited. I can't wait to see yellow DRLs on a Rebel Green F56 Mini JCW. My JCW. Alright, so the module has gone onto the heatsink, as you've just seen, absolutely fine. I've decided that I'm going to get the heatsink in. I left it in the sun for about 10 minutes just to maybe help some of that thermal paste sort of heat up and maybe adhere, maybe bond to it a little bit better. I don't know if that's quite how it works. However, I'm just getting the module screwed into the back of the headlight, and that screw down the bottom there is such a pain to put back in. It's now time for the ultimate test. Now again, you'll have to excuse the state of my car and the fact that I've got a seat cover on. My job involves a lot of sawdust, so pop my side lights on. No error codes on the dashboard, that's what we want. Now the camera frame rate is playing with it awfully here, but boom, how cool does that look? A yellow DRL ring. So now that we know that it works, I'm just going to test the indicator. We'll then change over this side. So now I've just tested the indicators by putting the hazard lights on. That's the stock one, and this is the aftermarket one. Now I don't know how well it comes across on camera, however, there is literally no difference in the orange in terms of shade or brightness at all, which is awesome to see. That is brilliant news, and I am well chuffed with that. It looks really, really cool. Now, bearing in mind as well, on side light mode, the actual light is a little bit dimmer than what it is in daytime running light mode. So I'm going to get my little trusty ratchet on the other side, which actually looks a little bit easier to access. It might just be from the angle that I'm looking at. I'm hoping it isn't, but I'm pretty sure it will be. And I'm going to change over the DRL unit on that, and then my F56 JCW has yellow DRLs. So I'm not going to show you that process because obviously you've seen it on that light. I'm going to crack on, get that done, and I'll show you the final results this evening when it gets a little bit more dusk, which will probably actually be around 9 PM because it's the summertime now. So you join me about an hour and a half later. It didn't take me an hour and a half to do that. I just got hungry, so I went and had some food. But I've just come out. I left the module, the sort of the thermal paste to dry, to cure whilst I was eating for sort of 25 minutes, half an hour. And I've just fastened in the final heatsink, but I haven't yet turned it on. The final heatsink was actually a little bit easier to get in. If you're left-handed, you'll find it easier to do the left-hand side one, ironically. It's just the way that you have to turn the screwdriver. So I've managed to get all the screws in there, nipped up nice and tight, but not too tight, and now it's time to give them a test. I know they're not as bright when it's just side lights, but we'll use those for now. No errors. Are they working? Yes, they are. Oh my God, how cool do they look? And they're not interfering with the camera now. Oh, they're wicked. I love them, and they're not even on full brightness. Wait, let me get my bonnet down. They look absolutely mega. Super, super mean. And just like earlier in the video, I've tested the indicator light just off camera, and they're orange. They're as clear orange as what they were on the OEM white DRL units that come from factory, which is really, really good to see. So overall, super happy with these. The next step will be to see how well these last. Do I get any error codes in the future? Do I get any burnt out DRLs? Do I get any burnt out lights? Does the whole module stop working? Does anything happen to them? Fingers crossed it doesn't. I really hope these work, because if they are, for less than £40 to do that wicked transformation, and it's taken me less than 2 hours of actual fitting time overall, and doesn't take a lot of skill, it's an awesome upgrade to do, and it costs you less than £40. I will leave a link in the description of the video to the ones that I ordered, because there's quite a lot of them on AliExpress, and it can be quite confusing because a lot of them have got 5 stars but no written reviews, which I found quite difficult. So yeah, no, these look really, really good. I'm really happy with them. So now it's literally just time to wait for it to get a little bit darker and take it out when it's dusk, so we can see just how cool these look. So overall, I think it's fair to say that's a mission success. Yellow DRL conversion complete on my F56 LCI2 JCW for less than £40, all thanks to the glory of AliExpress. Now, one thing I did notice when I was looking for these was there's a lot of different modules available on AliExpress that all have the same pictures and are a very similar price, all from various different sellers. Some have shipping costs, some don't. These don't, which is what kept them below £40. But there's not really any written reviews, which makes it quite difficult to see if they're reliable or not. But obviously, I've done that job for you. You don't need to worry about that, and so far they are really good. All that's left to do now is A, see if they have any issues, any error codes, any problems down the line, and if they do, I shall report to you on the YouTube channel what's wrong with them and how to change that and how to repair it. But fingers crossed they don't, and if they don't, then that's a full yellow DRL conversion for less than £40, which is wicked. And in fact, I'm going to leave the link to this exact set of yellow DRLs on AliExpress in the link of this video. Seems really rogue saying, oh, I've bought a car part from AliExpress, but the proof is in the pudding. They look really good, they work, and there's no need to go out there and spend £250 plus on yellow DRL modules, because I'm pretty sure they're all the same. Sorry to say it, but I'm pretty sure they are. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want yellow DRLs on your Mini, comment below and tell me whether you prefer white or yellow. I'm interested to know. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when I upload a tutorial video like this or general automotive content, minis and more. That's what the Auto Has YouTube channel is about. Thank you very much for watching my video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.